It was supposed to be their fresh start. After a difficult miscarriage the previous year and Daniel's sudden job layoff, Sarah and Daniel Walker had finally caught a break. Daniel landed a remote IT position, and Sarah gave birth to their first child, Lily, beautiful, curious, and full of laughter. So, when they found a charming rental home in upstate New York nestled between thick trees and forgotten roads, it felt like the universe was finally being kind. It was a 2-story duplex with faded blue siding and white shutters. A wrap-around porch, creaking under its own age, wrapped the front of the home. The previous tenants had moved out abruptly, the landlord said. Left everything clean, no damage. It had that lived-in charm, scuffed floorboards, old radiators, and the kind of dusty crown molding that looked haunted in the wrong lighting. But Sarah loved it, so did Daniel, and, surprisingly, so did Felix, their gray tabby cat with a strong personality and stronger opinions. He'd spent most of his life hating new environments, but the moment they stepped into the house, he darted up the stairs like he'd always belonged there. The nursery was the first room they finished. Sarah painted the walls a soft lavender. Daniel assembled the crib with his usual obsessive care. They bought a new baby monitor with night vision and sound alerts, mounted it in the corner above Lily's crib. By the time they finished unpacking, the little family felt whole. Complete. Safe. The first night passed quietly. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Felix curled up outside Lily's door, and both parents slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. It felt right, like a beginning. The second night, Sarah woke to faint crackling from the baby monitor. It wasn't crying. It wasn't movement. It sounded like static. The old analog kind, full of texture and cold hissing. Then came a strange sound buried beneath it, like someone whispering far away. Sarah sat up in bed and turned the volume down. It stopped. She blamed the rain, or maybe old wiring. The house was old, after all. It was night 4 when Felix refused to go into Lily's room. Daniel was carrying the baby upstairs, cradling her with practiced arms, humming softly. Felix trotted behind him but stopped abruptly at the nursery door. He arched his back, hissed. Then he ran. Okay. Weird, Daniel muttered. He turned and looked into the room. Nothing. Just the crib. The soft mobile. A few plush animals. Still, when Sarah came to check on them later, she found Daniel fast asleep in the rocking chair next to the crib. Lily slept soundly. But Felix was gone. He didn't come into their room that night. The scratching started 3 days later. It came from the closet in Lily's room. Soft, intermittent, just enough to raise the hair on Sarah's arms. She opened the closet, expecting mice, or even squirrels. But there was nothing, just old drywall, a box of diapers, and the scent of baby powder. The scratching stopped the moment she turned on the light. She closed the door and turned to look at Lily. The baby was sitting up in the crib, unusually awake for 2 a.m. Staring at the closet door. And smiling. The next morning, Sarah told Daniel about the scratching. I didn't hear anything, he said over coffee. Felix did, she replied. He stood in the hallway all night. Watched the door like something was going to crawl out. Daniel chuckled nervously. He's dramatic. Sarah didn't laugh. That night, Felix refused to come upstairs at all. He sat at the base of the stairs and meowed for nearly an hour. At 3:11 a.m., the monitor woke Sarah with the sound of Lily laughing. She was giggling, full-bodied, unrestrained baby laughter. The kind she usually reserved for peek-a-boo. Sarah checked the monitor. The camera was pointed at the crib, but the video was glitching. Lines of static moved across the screen. Shadows flickered. Sarah leaned closer. Her heart slowed. There was movement, not in the crib, but just behind it. Something low, crawling. Then, cut. The screen went completely black. She ran. Sarah burst into Lily's room, heart pounding in her throat. The nursery was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a unicorn nightlight. Lily sat in the crib, tiny fists gripping the bars, eyes wide, but she wasn't crying. She was pointing at the closet. Sarah flicked on the main light. Empty. The closet door was cracked open about an inch. She approached it slowly, every step heavy. Her skin tingled. The air felt off, heavy and cold. A whisper of something ancient and unseen pressed against her ears like cotton soaked in static. She opened the door in one swift motion. Nothing. Just stacked diapers. A box of old blankets. A rocking horse. But Lily began to whimper behind her. Sarah turned, and for the briefest moment, she swore she saw it, a long, black smear of something, like oily shadow, curling under the crib and disappearing through the floorboard slats. Then it was gone. The next morning, Daniel reviewed the camera footage. There was a 10-minute blackout window, complete video loss between 3:10 and 3:20 a.m. "I don't get it," he muttered. "It's hardwired. This thing doesn't just go out. They checked the electrical, the Wi-Fi, everything." But Sarah wasn't thinking about that. She was watching Felix. He sat beneath the kitchen table, fur fluffed, staring up at the ceiling. His ears twitched with every creak in the house. Later that day, Sarah noticed 3 tiny scratches on Lily's ankle. Thin, shallow, almost like fingernail marks. Daniel blamed the cat, but Felix hadn't been upstairs in 2 days. That night, Sarah left her phone on record and set it inside the crib beside Lily's stuffed elephant. She watched the waveform pulse on screen, no sounds at first. Just Lily breathing. Then, the tiniest tap tap tap. Like nails on wood. Sarah leaned forward. The audio was faint, but the taps were getting closer. Then came the voice. Low, raspy, right into the mic. "I see you now." She dropped the phone. The next day, they called the landlord. They asked if anyone had complained about weird noises or issues with the wiring. The man on the phone paused, cleared his throat, and said, "Oh, you're in the back unit. The old Peterson place." Sarah asked what that meant. The man simply said, "I'll send someone to check the closet," and hung up. The someone arrived that evening, an elderly man with thick hands and distant eyes. His name was Gerald. He worked maintenance for the property for decades. When Daniel showed him the closet, he stood silently in the doorway, unmoving. Then he asked, "Do you hear scratching?" Sarah nodded. "And your cat stopped going near this room?" Another nod. Gerald grunted. "Should have sealed it up when we had the chance." He knelt by the closet floor and, with a screwdriver, pried loose one of the old boards at the back. A cold rush of air spilled out. Behind the wall was a crawlspace. Narrow, dust-choked, unlit, too small for an adult. Gerald peered inside and murmured, "They always come back to the ones who cry." Sarah grabbed Lily and held her close. "What do you mean?" Gerald didn't answer. That night, Sarah didn't sleep. She lay awake listening to every creak of the house. The baby monitor sat on her nightstand, its screen a lifeless gray. Then, at exactly 3:11 a.m., the monitor activated. No sound, just a soft hum. The image flickered, and there, in the corner of the screen, just behind the crib, a hand, long, thin, gray-skinned, with too many joints, reaching upward. Sarah screamed. She ran, but when she got to the nursery, the hand was gone. Lily slept peacefully. Too peacefully. Sarah checked the footage the next day. But it was gone. The app crashed. The file corrupted. Daniel began suggesting therapy for Sarah. She didn't argue. But that night, she found Felix in the nursery. For the first time in over a week, he had crept back in. He was under the crib, completely silent, just staring down at the floorboards. Felix didn't move all night. Sarah checked on him at least 3 times between midnight and dawn. Each time, she found him in the same place, beneath the crib, body low, unmoving, eyes open. Watching. She finally picked him up around 7 a.m., and for the first time in his life, he hissed at her. Not a playful sound, a real, low, violent hiss. Something had changed. That morning, Sarah called Gerald again. She asked him what he meant by, should have sealed it up. At first, he tried to brush her off. But Sarah pushed. She told him about the hand on the monitor. The whispering. The cold air from behind the closet. Felix's behavior. He sighed, long and low. You ever hear about the Dennings family? He asked. Sarah hadn't. They lived in your half of the duplex. Mid-80s. Young couple. Baby girl. Cat, too, I think. Sarah's mouth went dry. They found the baby dead in her crib one morning. Parents said she'd been smiling and laughing the night before. Autopsy was inconclusive. Heart just stopped. What does that have to do with? The dad went crazy after. Said something was living under the house. Said it watched their daughter through the floorboards. Even tried to crawl inside her. Police thought he'd gone mad. He burned the nursery closet. Sarah's knees weakened. Gerald went on. After that, the place stayed empty for years. Then it got bought up, remodeled. People forgot. But Sarah didn't forget. And neither did Felix. That night, Daniel left for a work trip. Just 2 days. Sarah begged him to postpone. You're scaring yourself, he said. And you're scaring me too. Nothing's going to happen. He kissed Lily on the forehead, hugged Sarah, and left. At 2:17 a.m., the monitor buzzed. Felix yelled, and Lily began crying. Sarah ran upstairs. The nursery was cold, so cold her breath frosted in the air. Lily was standing in the crib, reaching downward toward the floorboards, wailing. Felix was snarling beneath her, tail puffed, fur bristling. He stared at the same floorboard Gerald had pried loose days ago. And from beneath it, Sarah heard breathing. Not mechanical, not electrical, real, wet, shallow, inhuman. Then, a voice. From beneath the floor. She's almost ready. Sarah screamed and grabbed Lily from the crib. She turned to run, but the nursery door slammed shut. The nightlight flickered, and then, the closet creaked open on its own. Inside, darkness churned like smoke. Something moved in it, something tall, long, bones where no bones should be. Sarah pressed her back to the wall, clutching Lily, whispering her name over and over. Felix launched forward, straight into the closet. He vanished into the shadows. And the door slammed shut. Silence. Then, a knock. From inside the closet. Soft. Deliberate. Then, nothing. Sarah didn't sleep the rest of the night. She sat on the nursery floor, clutching Lily. She whispered Felix's name over and over, but he never came out. When morning light bled through the windows, she opened the closet. Empty. No cat, no shadows, no door into the crawlspace anymore. It was sealed, as if it had never opened. Later that day, Sarah called Daniel in tears. He booked a return flight. They agreed, They were leaving. No more delays. Sarah packed that night, holding Lily close. And at 2:33 a.m., the monitor turned itself on. The baby monitor blinked to life at exactly 2:33 a.m. Sarah hadn't touched it, its screen lit with static. Then a shape appeared, blurry, gray, human-like, but not. It stood at the foot of Lily's empty crib. Except Lily wasn't in the crib anymore. She was in Sarah's arms. Asleep. Sarah watched the screen, paralyzed. The shape slowly turned its head toward the camera. The feed cut out. Then the closet door across the room creaked open again. Sarah didn't scream this time. She didn't move. She just whispered, "Felix, if you're still here, please." The room was ice. Lily stirred in her arms, let out a soft whimper, then began to cry. Sarah stood and backed toward the door. But the floor groaned beneath her. Loud. She looked down. The wood had cracked. Something pushed up beneath it, something clawing for the surface. She ran to the door. It wouldn't open. Then she turned to see a hand, long, pale, reaching from the floor, dragging something dark and writhing into the room. It was coming out. Lily wailed. And then, a sound. A low, vicious hiss. From the closet. Felix. He leapt from the shadows and slammed into the thing pulling itself from the floor. A blur of fur and teeth. Claws sank into skin that shouldn't exist. The creature screamed. Not from pain. From rage. It dragged Felix downward. The wood snapped shut behind them. The door to the nursery flew open. And all went still. Daniel found Sarah and Lily on the front lawn when he returned just before dawn. Bags packed. Baby crying. Sarah shaking. They never went back inside. They moved that day, breaking their lease. Paid the penalty. Didn't ask for their deposit back. Daniel called the landlord only once. Asked one question. Who sealed the crawlspace? The landlord hesitated, then replied, "No one's touched it since we bought the place." Epilogue. They live in a new apartment now. Small, bright, always warm. But Lily still talks about the boy from the floor. Sometimes she points to the vent and says, "He misses Felix." They never found the cat. But sometimes at night, Sarah swears she hears him purring somewhere beneath the floorboards. The end.